guys, it's Lizzie. Yes, there are tiny zebras on this shirt. Nicole got it for me a couple years ago and I'm kind of obsessed with it. So last week I talked about guys who are really confident and can almost unintentionally play with girls' emotions without realizing it because of the way they're acting. So today I thought I'd talk about nice guys because there's that adage, nice guys finish last. I don't think that girls want to be in a relationship with someone who's disrespectful. I think it's just that they want to be with a guy who's confident and they want to feel wanted in the relationship. I don't know like who you're interacting with, but as a girl, I feel like guys who are respectful are really, really incredible, and they're the type of guys who I want to date or who I want my friends to date. And so I don't think there's girls who are like anti-guys who are respectful. Like, that's not at all what's going on. No one's like, oh yay, we want to be in a relationship with a guy who's a jerk. Like, no one wants that. So I feel like nice guy, like that stereotype, is kind of someone who's more passive. And then there's, on the other extreme, there's guys who act kind of like players and can be a tiny bit disrespectful, but they're really bold and confident. And then in the middle, it's kind of like who you should want to be. A guy who is like respectful, but also like confident. Guys who are like uber respectful, they probably like think through like their decisions more and like what they say and their actions. And then guys who are a little disrespectful, they probably like don't think as much and they're more like impulsive with how they act. I feel like a guy who's more impulsive and spontaneous would be so much more fun to be in a relationship with. And also he'd be the type of guy who wouldn't think before like affirming a girl or like buying her flowers or doing anything romantic. He'd just like go and do it. And I think that sort of initiative is what girls want from a guy. Also, just because you're not a jerk doesn't automatically mean that you're an incredible guy and that you're going to be an amazing boyfriend. And this is actually a problem in how the Western world thinks about the concept of good. We think, oh, good is just avoiding sin. No, good is like all this extra stuff that you're doing. And I think apply this to types of guys. And if you're the guy who's just kind of like a passive, nice guy, and you're just like, oh, I'm not disrespecting her, I'm not saying sexist things, I'm not just with her for her body, but like what are you doing for her? If all you are is nice and respectful, but then you're not like doing anything spontaneous, like writing her notes or sending her really sweet texts or buying her flowers or dancing with her or like doing anything that's like fun and spontaneous and makes her feel wanted, if you're not doing any of that, then of course like she's gonna go for the guy who makes her feel wanted but is a jerk. What I found just from like talking to guys is that the guys who kind of I interpret as like more players type guys, they're really good at making girls feel wanted and special. They just say things and they do things that like make her feel like, wow, like I feel so special. And that's why those types of guys, you might notice, like they get more girls or more girls want to be with them just because they're making girls feel wanted and they're confident. That's it. That's all it is. And so if you're a respectful guy and you want to be respectful in a relationship, like that's amazing. But also like make a girl feel wanted and be confident. And also I think that you can go too far in trying to be respectful to where it can just be kind of a turn off. For example, if a girl is trying to break up with you, an example of like a really respectful, nice guy would just be like, oh, I understand, like if you're not into the relationship anymore, then you need to leave, and like I'm so happy like for the time we spent together. Like that's like really respectful, but is that attractive? No. Like what we actually want is a guy who's like fighting for us and like arguing with us and being like, why are you leaving? And like mad that we're trying to break up with him. And I feel like that type of guy who's like passionate and like intense is the type of guy who's more like romantic to a girl. Something else I wanted to say that I've been so annoyed at basically all of last semester, I just like had this life epiphany about how we interpret people. So if someone is being passive and kind of like omission in what they're doing, that's way more accepted by society as someone who's actively hurting people, and I don't think that should be a distinction at all. I think both are equally a problem. I think like the middle, and my counselor was actually talking about this, the middle is like being assertive, being passive, and then being abrasive or a jerk. Omission in a relationship, I know it's kind of like a confusing way of saying it, but if you're like not doing things to make a girl feel wanted in a relationship and she feels unwanted, that is just as hurtful as the guy who's disrespecting her heart. And so just kind of check yourself. Some girls, maybe if they had to choose like which type of guy to be with, they'd rather be with the guy who was kind of like disrespectful and like made her feel insecure sometimes, but actually made her feel really wanted. I feel like if a girl's like a little bit insecure, she will definitely err on the side of the guy who makes her feel wanted. I think some guys might have the idea that once you get into a relationship with a girl, it's kind of just like, oh, okay, cool, we're in a relationship, I can just kind of like chill now. But I think that if you're not constantly like pursuing a girl, like even after you're married, I've read I haven't like read books, but I used to, when I was in middle school actually, this is really funny, I used to listen to Focus on the Family. It's this like Christian radio station, and they have like a lot of like relationship advice, and they were all like always like interviewing married couples, and one of the things that they like emphasized was that you have to keep pursuing each other even after you're married. Like you have to be pursuing each other and like making each other feel special and wanted and loved. And so even of course, especially in like the dating phase when you're first getting to know someone, you can't just like chill and like slack off. And something I wanted to say, I think sometimes guys get annoyed when girls have really high expectations, and we're not just like creating those high expectations. I have friends who are in relationships with guys who are really romantic, and that's where we get these expectations from other people, from guys who actually exist and are doing all of this. And so if you feel like girls have unrealistic expectations for guys, like, no, there's other guys who are setting the standard for how to treat a girl in a relationship, and you're failing compared to that, and that's why we have high expectations. So the example of like kind of fighting for a girl if she's trying to break up with you is kind of like, could be interpreted as a little bit disrespectful, but it's something that I find attractive. Real life example of something else that was kind of disrespectful but was actually really attractive to me. I left my phone on the table. I was like talking to a guy, and then I left for a couple minutes, and I come back and he's like, so I broke into your phone and I like read your diary entries, because I like have my notes section of my phone and I like write stuff down like really in depth, and he like read like some personal stuff on there. I wasn't even mad or anything. I found it really attractive, and I feel like if you consistently do things that like are an invasion of privacy, it's kind of just like annoying. But if you do it occasionally, then it's just like, wow, like he really wanted to know what I was thinking so much that he broke into my phone. This same guy once, he was like trying to get me to tell him something, and I was like, no, like you're emotionally crying right now, like stop, I'm not gonna tell you. And he's like, I'm going to follow you around until you tell me. And he like was so persistent, and eventually I told him what he wanted to know, and that persistency is so attractive. And Rehab23 says, what I've learned from experience is that so many girls are insatiably attracted to the player tactics, to the player traits. At the end of the day, the #1 trait that a vast majority of girls like, regardless of whether many admit to it or not, is confidence, and players have it in absolute abundance. I've been on plenty of dates, but not one girl was interested after because of my shy demeanor and somewhat intellectual talk. So what I want to say is I completely agree with you. I admit we love confidence. I think everyone does. And I think that you're saying like, because you like talking about intellectual things, that means you're shy. I disagree with that. My dad is an INTJ, and he is very introverted in that he does not like small talk, he doesn't like meeting new people, he doesn't like going to parties and socializing in that sense. He's very intellectual, and he's been married to my mom for 25 years, I think, and he's a very confident person. And if you're an introvert, that doesn't mean you're shy. I'm a girl who's very extroverted and social, but I actually would only date a guy who's very intellectual. Like, I love those types of conversations, but if you're gonna be shy and like come off as insecure, then that's not attractive. Phil Book says, thing is, women are typically attracted to players. If someone isn't a player, then they are unlikely to be successful with women. If you are making a move and asking a girl on a date, asking her to be your girlfriend, telling her how you feel, if you're doing that, then you're not going to be like zero successful with women. Like, that's not true at all. Why do nice guys get rejected but a jerk gets anyone they want? I don't even think it's nice guys getting rejected. What I've seen is that nice guys don't even make a move. They don't make it known that they are interested in a girl, and if they do, they kind of just give up if they get rejected by her. The guys who are more persistent and confident are the ones who are going to end up being in relationships because they're trying. I think it's honestly effort. And I think that if you're more confident, you're going to be like, wow, I'm a guy who she wants to be with. I'm going to keep trying. Whereas someone who's more not confident, they're just going to give up. Buffalo something. I'm just making a generalization, but don't girls think most guys are players? It's a broad streak which hurts both girls and guys in the long run. What does it take for a guy not to come off as a player with a girl he's genuinely interested in? No, not all guys are players. That's why I get legitimately mad when a guy is a player, because it's rare. Like, most guys aren't doing it. What does it take for a guy to not come off as a player with a girl he's interested in? Just pursue the one girl. It's so easy to not come off as a player. Like, I feel like you have to try to come off as a player. Just make it clear to her, like, communicate to her that you're interested in her and that you ask her on a date, ask her to be your girlfriend, and do that to like one girl at a time, not multiple girls, and you're not playing anyone. Randomness. I get it that girls want guys that are nice, but when guys are really nice, girls hate it more than a mean guy. Can you explain that? I have not met any girls, like I don't know any girls who are like, wow, like I want a guy who's a jerk, like that's so attractive. Like, no, we want a guy who's kind and gentle, and we want a guy like who's nice. It's probably because she's insecure about herself and she doesn't realize how much she's worth, and so because she's not valuing herself as much as she should be, she's not finding a guy who is valuing her. That's really the only thing I can think of if you're noticing this behavior a bunch with the different girls, but I'm definitely not noticing it. My life all for Christ. I also end up in the friend zone with girls, so I'm nice to everyone I meet. So I feel like the friend zone, the concept of the friend zone, it's really easy to get out of it. You just like talk to the girl, you communicate to her, you say, hey, I have feelings for you. That's something I hear so often about like nice guys. They end up in the friend zone and then they can't get into a relationship. I think that that's not true. I'm 20 years old, so I'm at an age when people I know are getting married and some of my friends are in serious relationships, and so I think that with my guy friends, if we hang out a lot, like at some point it has crossed my mind like, wait, do I like him? And I'm like, oh no, I don't like him. And so it's not that you're being like friend zoned, it's that people are realizing that they don't want to be with you. And I think that's like totally fine. I think that it's really rare to end up meeting a guy who you have chemistry with and who you can connect with in that way and where the timing is right. Like that's so rare when it happens that way, and so you shouldn't be like, wow, like that's the 5th girl I'm friends with who doesn't want to be with me. Like that shouldn't be surprising to you. I think it should be surprising to you when you end up having chemistry and timing at the same time. So I hope that that clarified everything, and if you're a guy, do not stop being respectful and kind to girls. We definitely love that, but we also really need guys to be confident and to take initiative and to do things that make us feel wanted and special. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next Monday. Bye!